You know, it's kind of ironic that earlier I did an audio review on Sonic 250 from Archie Sonic Online. And speaking of Sonic comics, I want to kind of do a video where I talk about not only what's going on with the IDW comics storyline-wise, but I also want to talk about IDW's other comic book series that they have, another favorite of mine, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and mostly the upcoming Season 10. So let's take a look at Season 10. Now, according to IDW, by the time we get to Season 10's comic debut, that will become basically the official main comic. Now, does that mean all the other spin-offs are going to be no more? I don't know. But I do know, as I've mentioned many times before, the Season 10 comic has an opportunity to do a lot more with the characters than I guess many fans felt Season 9, the final season from an animation perspective, was able to do. Most importantly, answer some questions that were still left unanswered, as well as fill in a lot of the character plot holes and develop other characters that have yet to really get that chance during the animation portion, as well as, like I say, fill in some character plot holes and plot holes period that never fully got filled up. And the opportunity is there. One video that I did that's gotten almost 300 views, and I thank you for that, it may not seem like much, is talking about the villain's fate and how I feel it could be settled and taken care of in the Season 10 comic. But there's a lot of other stuff as well. You know, the one mystery that I think really got to me and to anybody else is you had this spirit, this aura, this living embodiment of the Tree of Harmony, and yet the only characters that were able to see this embodiment was the student 6, the young 6. Twilight never saw it. The main 6 or main 7, main 8 never saw it. So to me, I think one of the plot points that needs to be addressed, and hopefully will be addressed, is Twilight and the main 8, the main 7, main 8, coming face to face with the embodiment, with this living embodiment of the Tree of Harmony, and maybe finding out who this spirit, this living embodiment really is. Because I have my suspicions, and if my suspicions are true, then that will be quite the acknowledgement to the original G1 My Little Pony. Because my suspicions is it's Gusty, how it happened. Hopefully, if that's the case, it will be acknowledged. Also, of course, you got some potential romantic ships that need to be addressed. You know, Spike and Rarity, you know, Fluttershy and Discord perhaps, and many others. So, and these are minor things maybe in the eyes of fans, but these are character plots, character story arcs that should at least have some kind of proper conclusion, even though some would say drag and dropped the way you would interpret it kind of had a proper conclusion, or at least a decent conclusion to Sparity. So there's that. But overall, the Season 10 comic of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which will be basically, I should say, the main comic, I guess, going forward for IDW, it just has to really, to me, embody what the animated portion of the series was. I mean, a lot of people say that the IDW comic of Friendship is Magic that ran coincidingly with the animated series was good. It was a little bit more mature, darker, stuff like that. And I believe that obviously what they need to do is keep those core elements from the already established comic book and bring some of those elements over to the Season 10 comic. Because if they do that and apply it to whatever story arcs they're going to tackle, whatever questions they're going to finally answer, loose ends they're going to tie up, I guarantee you people will be invested and they're going to want to see more of it. The other thing that needs to be addressed as well is how many issues this is going to be. We know that from an animation perspective, the regular episodic tier for stories is 26. So we can only imagine that we might get between 26 to perhaps 50 issues, and that would be about it. But then again, with comic books, you can make a season go for however long you want it to. You know, it doesn't have to stop at the traditional 26 episode run. You can have it run for 100 issues, 75 issues, 150 issues, whatever it is, whatever you feel it's going to take lengthwise from an issue perspective and story perspective to really answer a lot of questions, fill in a lot of character plot holes, you know, and do this and that. You kind of get the idea. So hopefully, you know, IDW and the people behind the comic are going to be able to not only, like I say, take the elements that made the comic that ran coincidentally with the animated series good, the more mature, darker, adult elements, and bring them into the season 10 comic, but also allow those elements to help really make whatever stories and stuff, you know, really stand out. Characters, stories, and stuff to stand out in the end. And again, like I said, the big question is how many issues are we going to get? I'm estimating between 26 to 75 at the most. If we get 100, that'd be great. It all depends on how well the comic sells, digitally and physically. So I'm just going to go right now and say 26 to 75, because like I said, if you go 26, that's the traditional episodic tier run, I should say, episodic tier run of episodes for the show, stories for the show. But again, like I said, with comics, you can go a little bit longer. So I would guess between 26 to 75 at the most likeliness of issues for season 10. But yeah, to me, the season 10 comic apparently, like I said, is going to be the new main comic. And all it's got to do is answer the questions that were left unanswered, fill in the plot holes that were left unfilled, develop the characters that fans in the field need to be developed, and, you know, as well as mix in a little bit of those darker, mature adult elements from the established comic into it. And I think overall they put it all together and give us the best package, the right package, the total package, if you will. With season 10, I think IDW could have a bestseller on their hands. And again, I think from a legitimate, realistic standpoint, I'm looking at 26 to 75 issues at most. Now, moving on to the IDW Sonic comic. Ironically, like I said, I did a review of the Archie Sonic Online comic, issue 250. But I also want to touch upon the comic done by IDW. And apparently the news going around, according to one person that commented, I think on one of my videos here on my channel, as well as some other places, Ian Flynn does intend somehow to bring in the Freedom Fighters, you know, Sally, Bunny, Rotor, Antoine, Dulcie maybe, Loop Wolf, or the Wolf Pack. He does intend to bring them in. But the only question is how and when does he do it? Hopefully we'll get an answer soon to that. But the other thing about the Sonic comic as well by IDW is its current story arc, which is going to continue or conclude in the 25th issue. The whole Zombot situation where everybody, including Sonic, it looks like, have been infected by this liquid zombie virus, and it looks like the Zete, I think they're called, is going to be playing a part. Maybe, we're not really sure. It's basically, from what I could tell by listening to Mega Beatman's true reviews on the story arc, it looks like Eggman has underestimated what's going on, and the Sterling character is the only one that realizes, yeah, I think you screwed up to Eggman, so I'm going to have to step in and take care of stuff. So it's going to be really interesting how they conclude this. I don't know if they're going to conclude it in issue 25. But I will say this, that despite the fact, and I say this with all due respect, you know, people tell me I need to read the comic and check it out, and I probably should. I am going to say this, that, you know, we all complained about the Mecha Sally arc. We all complained about the Iron Dominion arc. We all complained about the Shadow World Crisis arc. We all complained about the New World Return of the Freedom Fighters arc. Well, maybe not the Return of the Freedom Fighters arc, but mostly the Shadow World Crisis arc, which concluded with Panic in the Sky. We all complained about the length of those story arcs and everything, and how long they went on, and how long sometimes they would drag and not pick up. Well, I guess maybe the same could be said for this one. Again, I'm not totally sure, but it seems to me, from what I understand, there are some fans that are getting impatient with it, like, okay, enough, when are we going to get to the good parts, when are we going to get this wrapped up and move on? Because I think, honestly, the reason the fans are kind of going in that direction is mainly because of the fact that they know Sega's not going to allow the main character to completely be zombified for a long time. The comic's called Sonic the Hedgehog, so something's got to happen. And hopefully we'll have a conclusion soon. But I think a lot of people, honestly, are getting impatient. And I think, honestly, Ian Flynn, with all due respect, has to wrap this up, and he has to wrap this up now, because it's dragged on for too long. You know, we all know what's going to happen in the end, or at least we have an idea. So, and he needs to finish this. I'm going to put it this way: Ian Flynn needs to finish the story arc. There's no doubt about that. The only thing I think that could really make it interesting, and I talked about this during, the Worlds Unite or Worlds Collide, the first Mega Man Sonic crossover, where you had a lot of the main Sega Sonic characters turned into roboticized masters. I said the only thing that could really make it interesting and create some drama and intensity and, stuff like that between Mega Man and Sonic is if you had Wily and Eggman add in another feature which would allow the roboticized master versions of Sonic's friends to merge, combine, if you will, into this big roboticized master robot that would self-destruct if Sonic would self-destruct while Sonic was, fighting it or something. So I don't know. I think, honestly, that would have made things a little bit more interesting, because now, you're putting him in a predicament to where he can't destroy his friends, and yet you would have Mega Man saying, but we got to, and all that. To me, I think if they were to do something similar to where the Zete or Sterling, with the Zete's help, is able to take control of the Zombot Mobians, if you will, and have the gunk that they're covered in and everything completely spread across their bodies, and have them come together, and then suddenly just, like, let's say in the episode Learning Curve from the Silver Surfer cartoon, I don't know if you guys have seen that, where you had all these characters turned into these blobs, if you will. There's one sequence where all those creatures, those blobs that the characters became, the Watchers and all that, became merging into this big version of the Silver Surfer. And my thought is, well, if, like I said, storyline-wise, Sterling can have the Zete do that by having the rest of the gunk cover up a lot of the Zombot Mobians, have them all gathered together while that's happening into like some kind of big blob, and then out of it, here comes this big old Zombot robot. I think that could be the one thing that makes things more interesting and intriguing for people to want to see and get invested in, especially if it's at the conclusion of this story arc. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it will happen, but it's something that at least I would probably do. And I'm sure others would agree with that. But I do know that a lot of fans are getting impatient with it. Well, not a lot of fans, but there are some fans getting impatient. They just want it to end. And all they're hoping for as well is not only will this story arc end and come to the conclusion they know it will, but that perhaps we'll get some kind of indication, silhouette-wise or whatever, that the Freedom Fighters are coming. So, yeah, IDW really has the work cut out for them when it comes to these two comics, and let's just hope they can do right by both of them in the end. So let me know what you guys think all about what I had to say on both down below. Comment if you like, and I'm out.